Everybody, welcome to More Books with B. Sharice. I'm your host, B. Sharice Moore. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to those of you who just stumbled upon the page. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you to those of you who have been there from the beginning. And thank you to those of you who just stop in, when you see something interesting. I appreciate all of you. So continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Like, comment, share, subscribe. So anyway, grab your pens, your pencils, your phones, whatever it is you need to take notes in. I'm going to jump right in. So I've been doing a series of book suggestions just for the holidays. Okay, doesn't matter whether you celebrate it or not. This is just a suggestion for gifts, all right, for Kwanzaa, gifts for Christmas, and just because I love you and you should read this book, gift, okay? So that's all this is for. So I looked back and I looked at the different suggestions that I've made in the last few weeks. Last week it was New Kid by Jerry Craft, which was a graphic novel that I absolutely adore. And the week before that was the Shadow Shaper Cipher series by Daniel Jose Older. And that is speculative fiction, urban fantasy. All right. And I enjoyed that book, those books as well. So now I thought about what I wanted to talk about today, which book I wanted to suggest. And I haven't done nonfiction in a while. And so that's where I'm going with today's episode. Let me start by saying this. I often see parents pushing their children once they get to maybe fourth or fifth grade away from books with pictures and toward fiction and novels and these big fat books that don't have any pictures in them and shunning the other kinds of books. And I want to tell you that that's a mistake. We should always encourage our students to read and our children to read. And there's some students, there's some children who really adore nonfiction. They like to read factual things. They like to, read up on facts. They like learning new things. All right. And they also enjoy those pictures that accompany those new facts that they've learned. All right. So there's a little bit of snobbery sometimes that I see with people who only read fiction and shun the nonfiction, shun the graphic novels. And I want you to listen to me, all right? And I want you to continue to encourage your students to read those kinds of books. So the book that I have today that I'm going to suggest is a nonfiction picture book, and it is called The Roots of Rap. The Roots of Rap, all right? Nonfiction picture book. And the author is Carole Boston Weatherford. She is the author. And the artist is Frank Morrison. All right. So, author Carole Boston Weatherford, and the art is Frank Morrison. Okay. So, first of all, absolutely beautiful book. I absolutely, positively love the pictures in this book. I love the illustrations. They are fantastic. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a few of them. All right. And again, I'm just blown away. Because if you watched last week's episode, I talked about Jerry Craft's New Kid, and I talked about how much I really enjoyed Jerry Craft's, the way he illustrates, and because every artist obviously is not created the same. And of course, that's the same for visual art. They all have their different style. And I love this book. Love it. It's just visually stunning and engaging. So, The Roots of Rap, 16 Bars and the Four Pillars of Hip Hop, is written in rhyme, literally. And they talk about the four pillars of hip hop. So I'm about to test y'all real quick. Who thinks they know the four pillars of hip hop? Now, I grew up in the 80s, all right? And at one time, I was a huge KRS fan. So I know all about the four pillars of hip hop. I went to Rutgers University, and I recall being with my homies, chilling in our dorm rooms, and we would have these discussions, all right, about the four pillars. So you have DJing, that's one pillar. MCing, that's the other pillar. Breaking, all right, or B-boying, all right, breakdancing, b-boying, and you have graphic, graffiti art. Okay, those are your four pillars. And on each page, there's a celebration of one of the pillars of hip hop. All right. So nothing goes untouched. All right. So, and again, just visually, it is beautiful. And one of the things that I noticed about this book was it says 16 bars on the four pillars of hip hop. So when I read that title, I said, is this person really going to, spit some bars? Is this broken down into bars? And yes, it is. So when you open up the book, all right, of course, they talk about New York City, as New York City is the birthplace of hip hop, specifically the Bronx. All right, you learn about Cool Herc. Okay, they talk about, let me see who else is mentioned in here. I don't want to get it wrong. But I was really impressed that they talked about James Brown. All right. So James Brown is also mentioned in here as one of the fathers of hip hop. You also have Paul Lawrence Dunbar and Langston Hughes. Those two are also mentioned. And basically, on each page, you just have a bar dedicated to the history of hip hop. All right. And its evolution from at first being, something that was pretty much a niche type of art form that was only being created in New York City to now being a global phenomenon. All right, and again, hip hop is everywhere. All right, I don't think anybody realized how amazing hip hop would be. I remember back when I was in, I don't know, maybe I was in sixth or seventh grade and having conversations with my father. And my father would say, that's a fad, you know what I mean? It's going to go away in a few years. And my father was a musician, so I really respected him. My father played, what, four or five different instruments. He was a band major in the Army, and he was big on music, and musicianship. He had a tremendous respect for it, but he just didn't believe hip hop would last. And I remember being really kind of pissed off at him, with him. And that was even when I was, really young, because I just felt and I knew that this thing has staying power. You know what I mean? And I think that this book captures that. You know, this book mentions, Salt and Pepper and Queen Latifah and Biggie, of course, and Pac, and it also mentions Run DMC and LL Cool J and all of those forefathers, of hip hop. And it's illustrated right here in this book in rhyme. All right. It's filled with onomatopoeia. All right. It's filled with rhythm, and it has the ability, it has really captured, the hip hop in its early days and the history of the genre. So, what I would say is, I'd say this is probably third grade, maybe even second grade and up. All right. It's not an extremely complex book, you know. And one thing that it does have at the end that I really thought was cool, it actually has a glossary for the slang that's used. And some of the slang is a bit dated, of course, obviously, because we're talking about an art form that began in the 1970s. And the author stays true to that, but she's made sure that she's, added a glossary in the back, just in case we may not know what certain slang words mean. And that's important. So as far as I'm trying to think about what I might do for a mini lesson. Maybe you'll have your children or your students write a rap, okay, about the history of hip hop. Maybe they write their own rap. Maybe they choose one of the four pillars, b-boying, MCing, DJing, and graffiti. Maybe they choose one and they do a little bit more research on it, and they write, their own 16 bars. And that's poetry. All right. That's rhythm. That's sound. Okay. And it also speaks to literary elements if they choose to include figurative language and if they choose to include sound device. Okay. So I will, hmm, I think that I'm pretty sure I can find a link to a lesson on, teaching hip hop, just like a mini lesson. And if not, I'll make up one of my own. And so give me a little bit of time. I'll post the video before I add that actual link. And just make sure you pick it up. All right. So name of the book, The Roots of Rap, 16 bars on the four pillars of hip hop. 16 bars on the four pillars of hip hop. And the author is Carole Boston Weatherford, and the artist is Frank Morrison. All right. So make sure you pick that up. I'll also have links to their personal websites too, like I always do. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. I appreciate you so much. Remember to link, comment, share, subscribe. Comment, share, subscribe, like. I said link. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Like, comment, share, subscribe. So this is B. Sharice Moore. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys again next week. Take care.